What's up, YouTube family? Welcome to Discouraged to Willing Week 7, in which we're going to talk about how to illuminate your true path from within, not waiting for some externalized authority figure, some father figure, some guide, some whoever outside of yourself to give you some kind of permission slip saying, okay, now you can go do the thing. No, we're going to carry our own lantern and learn how to illuminate that lantern from our own inner reserves, our own power, our own energy, our own intuition, right? The guidance and the wisdom of our heart, ultimately. And how to establish and begin to cultivate body, heart, mind, soul coherence. This is a work of a lifetime, so I'm not going to say that it's going to be all in this video for you. However, you need to start somewhere. And in this video, we're going to be talking about definitely this alignment, this coherence, which leads into as well how to discern even between intuition and that gut instinct feeling, and not to get them confused with anxiety or fear, let's say. We're also going to be speaking about recognizing the sacred in the mundane, and how actually sensitizing yourself to this is a massive key to awakening your heart. And when your heart is awakened, it's like the divine messenger, the communicator of your soul, of your intuition, the one that can bring coherence between the intelligence of the mind and comparing different things and drawing from memories and past experience, and the power center of your gut, which is like, go do the thing. All right, we want action. We want to do it now, or definitely don't go over there, right? So that's why we need all those centers working, for sure. So a lot of good things to come, and the aligned action for this week is really, really beautiful. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you. I did it just the other day, and I was basically crying to myself. It was really beautiful, so stay tuned for that. All right, let's hop in. I want to start with reading out some of this article that I read the other day, similar to the theme that we're speaking about. It's written by a man called Zach Johansson. So it'll appear on the screen. You can follow along with me. It's not the entire article. It's just some really juicy bits that I loved. But yeah, it sets the scene for what we're going to discover today. Okay, let's go. So, you wish to go somewhere, anywhere really, as long as it's not here. What do? You take one step and another step and another. You finally find yourself at your destination. Easy, wasn't it? We wish. Life is never easy. Life throws you curveballs and twists and turns and massive obstacles along the very path where all you needed to do is take one step forward. Life has an interesting way of testing you, it seems. It can be almost serendipitous or conspiring, depending on your perspective. But it does seem to do something. The secret is, it is not the path you walk, nor the steps you take. It's you. Sometimes you don't truly know what it is you need to focus on. You don't know which path it is that you need to take. You know what I found out? I've realized that we all derive our own meaning in life, and whatever we find ourselves being lost in time with, that should be our meaning. That is what you should step forth with and put every ounce of effort into your life with. Just remember one thing. That path you know you want to take is always inside of yourself. So if you do just one thing, ask around, then take a reflective moment, perhaps in a forest. Maybe you will just have a cup of coffee and sit in your favorite chair. Ensure that you have a moment where you sit and you deliberately think about what it is that you lose yourself in, because that's where you belong day in and day out, perfecting your craft, your niche, your dream, the rest of your life. Really, to illuminate the path from within, We must be attuned with our heart. The wisdom of our heart, our inner wisdom, right? The other side of that means, therefore, that we need to become aware of what impedes that connection, of what gets in the way of us resting in that wisdom, in that throne. Let's say it's a golden throne, right? What gets in the way of that? What tricks do you tell yourself? What shadows are hiding in plain sight, but then they leak out through self-sabotage, through limiting beliefs, through tragic self-criticism? We need to be aware of that in order to be attuned to our heart. It's easy to say that just go out there, do what you love, and forget about the rest. Though that's one half of this whole game of life. And I'm not in any way trying to tell you to be ignorant. I know for myself, I liked to think that I had some kind of thing figured out, and I could kind of just walk blind through life, and then life would just carry me forward wherever I needed to go. And a higher truth of that is absolutely it does. However, there was a sort of naive ignorance or innocence, let's say, that led me into some sort of dark places, and I guess they could have been avoided, but at the same time, that was my lesson set. And so these experiences almost forced me to look within and look at what was really going on, not what was the reality, the mask that I'd created and constructed for myself, this idea of who I was, rather than actually truly being with what was even heavier or darker. What is the thing that I didn't want to face? And by not facing it, it just, like a shadow, it just grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And then while I could get away with it before and just flow and be free, so to speak, I wasn't actually free because these shadows were just unchecked. And so then they came through in really intense ways of self-sabotage and internal trickery, so to speak. So as all of these quotes always say, and even Sri Aurobindo, like, there's no escape from this prison if you don't know you're in the prison, right? And the prison is oftentimes the mind. The prison is the ancestral burdens that are intergenerational patterns playing through you, and you don't even realize that it ain't your fault. It's not your fault that you're this way, but it's your responsibility. This old chestnut. The prison is being the false limitations imposed upon self. The limitations imposed upon the power of your heart, the power of your path, right? The heart is a very, very sacred place, and it's a place with no walls. It's a place outside of time, though it's a place that allows us to move through spaces that have walls and worlds that have time with a lot more grace and a lot more clarity and a lot more fulfillment. You know, that feeling when things just feel like on track, you know, despite there being some unknown, despite there being this sense of chaos maybe, that place allows you to rest in the unknown. It allows you to take a seat on that throne, witness, not getting sucked up in it all, and still be able to participate and make a tangible step, right? So when we're speaking about the heart, of course, we're speaking about, you know, following your fascination, following your bliss, as our good friend Joseph Campbell speaks about. Though, not a lot of people really speak about the other side, you know, of what's the thing that's subconsciously getting in the way of that. And not to dwell in that, because we also need to consciously feed that good stuff. Absolutely. Though in this video, we'll just very, very lightly touching on it, but we're going to be getting more into that side of things in the next video. So stay tuned for that. In this one, I want to start us off with a little exploration of recognizing the beauty, the sacredness in the mundane, you know, how to actually count our blessings and recognize that in the here, in the now, even if we haven't recognized it, our soul, our heart, the divine is here and speaks to us all the time. It speaks to us even through our intuition. And to really leverage that, we must first understand that where our attention goes, energy follows, right? So if you approach that with, my attention is going to recognizing the gift of life that I'm a part of, the gift of life that is my life, the seemingly simple things to appreciate, like the wattle blooming during winter in Australia, or the sound of the kookaburras, or even something like that I'm constantly enamored by is just like the texture of the eucalyptus trees bark and its shapes and its metallic-y sort of colors, and the bird song in the morning, and the feeling of a hot drink in the morning, and that maybe even ephemeral feeling of deep peace in between things, or that heart-opening feeling when there's a step back from being in the mind that's worried about things all the time. And there's the divine, and there's the divine, and there's the sacred. Not that it stops, not that it turns off, but where our attention goes, to that appreciation, to the gratitude, to counting our blessings, energy follows. And what does that mean also? That if we are recognizing the blessing that is life, life recognizes the blessing that is us. So if we say yes to life, life says yes to us. If we approach the unknown, pushing and shoving and likely what you're going to get is the world pushing you back, shoving you back, raring you back. I've totally experienced this. And it's not always like a one-to-one, like if I push, you push, but it's mainly sort of like an energetic thing. Like, you know, I know for myself that when I'm racking something over and trying to figure it out, it's just like, here I am pushing, 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 and then it's like, you know, when you're trying to put two magnets together and they're just not coming together. That's totally what I'm talking about. Have you experienced that too? All good if you have. It's part of the learning process for sure. So yeah, deepening into that about, yeah, the sacred, the divine in the mundane. This helps us connect to our heart. It helps us rest in that place of love. Love for reality as it is, which is akin to truth. Okay? The heart's love language is truth. The heart's longing is the compass that guides us on our soul's journey a lot of the time. Right? These are similar words to what Sri Aurobindo would say. So if we approach life and only place our attention to the mundane, to how boring everything is, how much better someone else's life is, or how not creative we are, or how we'll never make it, and or how, you know, the grass is always greener over there, but here, no, too boring, too mundane. This is you essentially taking life for granted. And look, we all do it, right? We're not always conscious all the time. That's the goal, to be fully conscious, right? But you realize when you are able to access that sort of more transcendent state of recognizing the sacred in everything, is that the divine, the sacred, and the mundane, they are of the same thing. They are all part of this reality, this magical, mystical thing that we're all a part of. It's not outside of reality. And so, if we can recognize the sheer miracle that we are alive, well, bless this table. Bless the hands that created it, the tree that this table is made from, the land that that tree grew in. Like, whoa, this interconnected web, even just that as an awareness. We're not just talking about a seeming inanimate object anymore. No, we're talking about an element of nature. We're talking about an animate force. Boom, sacred. And it doesn't mean that living a sort of mundane life isn't sacred. That's also sacred, right? Where the mundane ends and the sacred begins, it's pretty indefinable. The sacred doesn't just exist in holy places or uninterrupted time in nature. That's when it's easier to attune to that. But the sacred, that is here and now. That's by virtue of you breathing, are you connected to that? Are you that? If you've ever taken some mushrooms, you definitely know what I'm talking about. So explore that. Place your attention somewhere and notice if you're able to connect to this more higher state of gratitude and appreciation. Count your blessings. That's really what we're talking about. Sri Aurobindo, he says, quote, "The divine is present in every aspect of creation." End quote. Ain't that the truth? So I want to speak to you guys as well, as we're speaking about recognizing the magical in the mundane, the sacred in the mundane, right? How that's also where our inner child lives. The fairies in the garden and all the possibility of the things we can create with these hands. Right? Totally magical. Totally connected to the heart. Totally acknowledging reality as it is, seeing it as this building block of all the potential, right? So when we're speaking about illuminating your path from within to connect to your heart, we are talking about play. We are talking about co-creating with your soul. So how do you do that? A gazillion ways. A gazillion ways. There's no limit to how you can incorporate play in your life. A playful attitude, a playful mindset, one that is a stimulant of creativity, of joy, of curiosity, right? And this essence of play can really break down those rigid barriers of this is the way things are and that's it. Play allows you to just take those things down and see life from a different perspective. And maybe that slight perspectival shift is what enables you to gain a higher vantage point of your entire life, of the thing that you're facing right now, which has seemed like such a big block, and then boom, suddenly an insight can come through. You've illuminated the path from within. You didn't wait for a permission slip. You didn't wait for some authority figure to tell you what to do. No. You, as a master of your own life, took your life in your own hands, accessed something playful, accessed the creative, playful spirit that the society might push aside as some childish thing. And you're like, no, This is a superpower. So, when was the last time you consciously connected to that place? When was the last time you even thought about how your inner child's going? And perhaps how your inner child is a direct link to your authentic self, is a direct link to you being able to illuminate that lantern from within to guide you forward through those unknown woods. Your inner child don't give a shit about societal expectations. And when we're speaking about the inner child, we're speaking about your inner artist, as Julia Cameron says. When we're speaking about your inner artist and your inner child, we're speaking about your creative spirit. We're speaking about your heart, your fascination, your essence. So to reconnect to your inner child in play, which thereby is co-creating with your soul, it's a very, very quick way to do that. We want to first at least create some sort of space, be it big or small, to call that in, presence that. You know, if there's an issue that you're facing in the day, you're feeling really down and you're able to catch yourself and not go into a downward spiral and become conscious of that, that's a perfect moment where even if you're doing other things, you can just go within for a moment, reconnect to your heart, imagine how your inner child is feeling, be them 5 years old, 7 years old, it doesn't really matter, but your inner child, maybe they're there sitting inside your heart, sort of like hitting a stick against a stone. And then they notice that you're noticing them. Oh, hello. We can have a little conversation. Like, yeah, what's up? How are you? Oh, I'm not feeling super good right now, but it's good to see you. I hope you're well. And then they might be like, hey, yeah, go look at that thing. That might help you. Or it could even just put you in a brighter mood and then, you know, boom, the funk disappears. This is just a tiny example of how to connect to that playful essence, right? Drawing just quickly from Julia Cameron's work again, from The Artist's Way, she really makes a point of having an artist date. Another way of saying that is like, go have an inner child date. And it doesn't have to be childish, if that makes sense. Though, if it helps, you can translate inner child to inner artist. Whatever language works for you to speak about that same essence. But go do a thing consciously with that being presence, with that being the central theme around which you move for that period of time. And most likely you'll be drawn to do something a little more playful, a little more spontaneous, a little bit more outside of the box of your regular flow, let's say. And see what comes through from there. You know, it's like a muscle that we're building. And the more that you consciously nurture that, the more quickly you'll be able to draw on that consciously, but it will just start assisting you in the background, right? It becomes like part of the platform upon which you stand and navigate reality. So all these things that we're doing, everything we've been talking about in Discouraged to Willing, is forming and strengthening your platform, right? Your foundation. So, you know, again, not a quick magical pill that fixes all your problems. This takes time. This takes nurturing. Okay, sometimes we need to respond in a sort of urgent, it needs to happen now kind of thing. Okay, cool, we'll respond. And a lot of the time, the things that we're facing, the challenges, what that needs is that daily cultivation, that nurturing of that play, you know, making it a thing, you know, the inner child, the inner artist state, but also, you know, the inner child loves to observe reality, taking it in, curious eyes, as if seeing it for the first time. Wow, so sacred, so magical, right? Instead of seeing it through the filter of like, oh yeah, I see this every day, mundane. That essence I'm talking about, you can see life through new eyes. Boom, illuminating the path from within. You see? It's both explicit and implicit. And I spoke of, you know, I named co-creating with your soul. And one of the quickest, sure, fast ways you can do that is definitely not overthinking it. Though, as one of my teachers invited us to do for a practice, is calling our soul into our body. Calling our soul into the room, right? Let's say we have an appointment and it's the dentist, and normally we dissociate at the dentist appointment. I will call my soul into the dentist appointment. You are welcome, you are safe. Be with me, my soul. Be with me, dear soul. Thank you so much. Right? Invite your soul to co-create with you. It is anyway, but we need to strengthen that sometimes, because sometimes, let's say it's like a line, maybe that line goes a little bit further away sometimes, and we need to bring it closer in, bring that energy closer in. To be embodied isn't just talking about doing physical exercise. No, the true meaning of embodied, we are talking about ensouled, spirit in body, essence, you, your magic, your beauty, your essence in this physical form. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about embodiment. And to co-create from an embodied place, to create from an embodied place, we need your soul, we need your heart there. So how do you do that? Everything we've just talked about so far, and a gazillion other things that will probably be unique to you. And that's the fun part. Self-discovery. Remember, it's the unknown. You got to figure it out. You got to figure out what works for you. Though there are principles, right, that you can take with you, like reconnecting to that heart space, very connected to your inner child, your inner artist, right? Your soul, your spirit, your essence, the unique flavor that is you. Presencing that, calling your soul into your body, calling your soul into the next action that you do right here, right now, in this exact moment. Close your eyes for a second. I call on my soul. Welcome. I call you into my body now. Grant that my soul is fully in my body. Even just that. A moment of consciousness, right? So this leads on to developing your intuition and trusting your gut, because this is how, for sure, we illuminate the path from within. The sure, fast way to do that is by attuning to this inner knowing, the one that isn't, maybe you don't always know why that's the answer that you're getting, but this is still the answer that you're getting, and so you'll trust it, and then boom, something happens, right? This is the power of your intuition. And your gut, it's slightly different. This is, when cultivated, the solution to overthinking. Oftentimes, when we're faced with the unknown, the mind tries desperately to draw upon past experiences, memories, learnings, teachings, to try and figure this thing out. But where it often falls short is because it's limited oftentimes by what it's already experienced or what it's seen. So if it doesn't have a reference point, then that's where there can be a limit. And so this is where the gut instinct comes in. This is where the intuition comes in. Because it's, what is it drawing from? It's drawing from the knowing field. It's drawing from that aspect of creation, of life, that already knows. That higher self of you, right? We could call it the higher self for sure. So essentially, according to many teachers across many eras of time, and I'm sure for you that you've experienced in your life already, that there's deep wisdom in recognizing that we are not separate from the things that we see outside of ourselves as separate. We are not separate from the universe. We are an integral part of its cosmic fabric. We are part of this thing. Nothing is outside of it. Anything you can think of, anything, be it as microscopically small or expansively large, as soon as you can think of it, well, there's part of you. It's it. You're not that, so you must be something bigger than that. Basically, to tap into our inner wisdom, right? We got to accept that. Because to accept the messages of our intuition, we've got to accept that there's something beyond the physical plane that is connected to those answers. There's something that can access that, which you can then receive as insight, as intuition, right? So we got to recognize that we're all connected. Not in the love, light, unity, not in that kind of way. But that's just a fact of reality. That's cool. So by accepting that and embracing this as just the nature of reality, we can really unlock our full potential, and this leads to a life of purpose and fulfillment. Because we're not then limiting ourselves by what our mind can conceive. We allow intuition to come through. We allow ourselves to follow our heart. Even if we don't know why we're drawn to this thing or why this is just, I know I need to do that. That's a massive permission slip that the mind will fight against, right? Because its safety comes in understanding things. And if it doesn't understand a thing, pain body. Well, that's what happens a lot of the time, at least. I have another quote here by Sri Aurobindo. He's quite presenced in this video because he's got some really good points about the topics that we're speaking about. So he says this, quote, "The ego is in fact driven by the mechanism of nature, of which it is a part, and the ego will is not and cannot be a free will. To arrive at freedom, mastery, and perfection, we have to get back to the real self and soul within and arrive to, thereby, at our true relations with our own and with universal nature." End quote. Another quote, "In the spiritual truth of our being, the power which we call nature is the power of being, consciousness, and will, and therefore the power of self-expression and self-creation of the self, soul." We're human beings. We do the human doing thing, right? We do that well. But at our core, we're human beings. And to be able to chart unknown territory, it requires us to navigate life from that being state, right? Prior to knowing, there is being. And then knowing a thing, the mind, right? It's very conceptual. So the being state, this really goes to show that there's this there is the meaning, basically. By virtue of being, by virtue of breathing, we can connect to the vastness of all that is, of our place in it, and the knowing conceptual brain would like to create a meaning, but we connect to that sort of meaninglessness in some sense. Capital M, meaningless. And that is where the mystery lies, this irreducible aspect of nature. And so from the mystery births meaning, because we chart that territory, we create that meaning based on who we are, right? And when you realize the totality of this meaningless, of this mystery, you discover that it comes full circle, and it becomes the most meaningful discovery you'll ever make. This is freedom. This is conscious meaning making, rather than expecting the external authority to tell you what is meaningful. Being is more meaningful than some seeming objective meaning. Being is more meaningful than that. The mind is not the true knower. It is only an instrument of knowledge. Another quote. The mind is often held as this foundation of knowledge, but it's not the true knower. It's a tool for acquiring knowledge. In order to know something, you first realize that you didn't know it. And so that process of knowing is worked through the mind. The being was prior to all of that. And so you go beyond the confines of this realm of knowledge, and you're led to a more expansive, intuitive source of knowing. Not the knowledge of concept, but the knowing of being, the knowing of direct experience, which can lead to breakthroughs, which can lead to an expansion of your sense of self and your path and why you're here. And we look beyond the limitations of the mind, and we tap into the true essence of knowledge that dwells within us. Because the true well of knowledge that dwells within us is not coming through the mind. It's coming through the heart, and the heart is based in present reality. The body is always present. The body is a vehicle of beingness, right? And so by embracing now and here and acknowledging reality as it is, not being delusioned, that's not a word, deluded, not being deluded by some false expectation of what it should be, or no, just take that away, acknowledge reality as it is, and when you do that, you'll be able to face reality as it is, meaning you'll be able to get the answers for how to deal with reality as it is. And there's the gift of your heart, right? That place that recognizes reality as it is, not as the mind projects that it is or wants it to be, or how it sees it through the filter of past experience and all that. No, as it is. And by embracing the wisdom of the heart, by trusting our innermost desires and feelings, by being able to hold even the challenge and the heaviness of something. We gain access to this transformative power to transcend the barriers of our mind and embrace a more authentic, fulfilling existence. Okay? And to illuminate the path from within, we're also kind of speaking about this essence of clarity, right? When you hold up that lantern, the light allows you to see what's in front of you. It brings clarity, light as true knowledge, and knowledge as clarity, as truth. And a key component in being able to obtain a sense of clarity is a steadfast dedication to being honest, regardless of how unpleasant the truth may be. And being honest is also being honest with ourselves of how we truly feel. Being honest with other people about how we truly feel about a thing, of what we truly think about a thing. And not allowing the fear and the projections of how they'll receive it to stifle our authentic expression. Because by stifling our authentic expression, we're stifling our connection to our heart and to truth. So when you approach the unknown intuitively and with a steadfast decision to be as honest as you can, to acknowledge reality as it is, so you can actually face reality as it is and get the answers from this reality as it is, you then also will work with the mind in tandem with your gut, with your heart. And when you do that, there we are talking about the mind, the body, heart, mind, soul coherence. Because again, I remind you, I'm not saying go ditch the other senses, the other power centers. No. We want them to come into balance if that's possible. Because if your brain works with your heart, let's say, then you'll approach the unknown, you'll approach this challenge that's come up in your life, and you'll be able to see it clearly because you've accepted it as it is with your heart. And then your brain can access previous experiences, previous memories, past learnings, and then they'll work together and they can find a good decision for you, given the context. So, funnily enough, when we speak of intuition, it's quite an intuitive feeling, right, that we get about how to define this thing, this force, this knowing force. And I like to think of it as like a sixth sense. It's like this sense of, it's more akin to like claircognizance, out of the clair senses, like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clear seeing, clear hearing, right? And there are other ones. But yeah, intuition feels a lot like claircognizance, clear knowing. A whisper, a nudge, that little voice that knows what to do and tells you what to do. It's not too pushy. And because it's not too pushy, sometimes we don't register it if we're in the hustle and the bustle of the moment. And maybe we get access to what it was trying to say later. Though often what I've experienced is that when I'm more attuned to that clear knowing, I make better decisions because it's not just one center trying to figure it all out. It's not just my mind trying to compare this with that, with this, with that, and we're yo-yoing and seesawing up and down. No, the weight is shared, the load is shared with the mind, with the heart, with my gut. And so the gut, yes, of course, this is also another form of intuition, but it's also, for me, feels more like instinctual. If it's like a power center that gives a surge of energy. It often wants to bring something to life. That gut feeling of like, full body, yes, this is happening, go. On the other side, gut feeling, no way, no. And to be able to distinguish this sort of intuition, gentle nudge with the gut, this like power, you also then will be able to sensitize to when it's intuition or a projection, right? Not actually intuition. Because you'll be able to feel the place that that nudge is sort of coming from. You'll be able to feel in your gut when it's this like knowing thing, or when it's overlaid with anxiety and fear, right? When it's charged very emotionally and it just feels a little bit entangled. So oftentimes, right, those lines are blurred and it's both intuitive and it's the gut and it's the heart and it's the mind. It's all the things happening at once. And that's great. That's perfect. This is merely an invitation to recognize that there are subtle differences there. You can attune to them if you want. And it will assist you in also, therefore, implicitly being able to discern intuition from that kind of more egoic, right, unconscious default program state. And therefore, by extension, am I being driven by fear or am I being driven by love? Right? It's a learning process. Again, this often won't just drop in like that. It's a process, and that's okay. It's okay. I hope you aren't too hard on yourself about that. I know I have been, and it's not helpful. So don't be so hard on yourself to like figure all this out, because the mind's not supposed to do it all, remember? It's not supposed to know everything. That's why you have the other centers, right? The intuition, it's more like the third eye crown, right? The gut, more like the root, sacral, probably even getting into solar plexus there. They're sort of different. And each of them play a role. To hone your intuition, to hone your connection to these clear knowings, be it through the gut, be it through the sort of higher centers, solitude and stillness, super useful. Spending quality time in nature, and everything is kind of nature. The nature I'm talking about is the less human modified neighborhoods, right? The foresty neighborhoods. Sitting with the trees, playing with the leaves, listening to the birds, getting to know what is living in the ecosystem that you're a part of. What is the ecology of your neighborhood? Even just this, because oftentimes intuition, insight, all of these things can only be registered from us if there's space, internal space. If we think of illuminating the path from within, with within being, let's say, a cup, and let's say that cup is full of mud, there's not much space for the light. So you creating the space, you being in the solitude and the stillness and the meditating practices and being in nature and journaling and doing what you love, gifting yourself that time to do what you love and prepare food for your loved ones and paint something, build something with your hands. Like, that's you turning, let's say you put that cup under a natural spring and the water comes into the cup of mud, and eventually all that comes out, and then you have a cup of clean, pure water. That's also what we're talking about. There's a little test you can do to assist you in cultivating that sort of intuitive knowing, and it's called a snap judgment test. So this isn't the aligned action, by the way. This is just something else which you can try out. And this assists you in not overthinking. So what you do is you write a question on a piece of paper, a question that is a question you really want an answer to, but one that's connected to your life, what's happening right here, right now for you. So let's say you're someone and you've been tossing and turning about this decision, like, do I move into state or do I stay here? Do I go for this job or do I not, right? So let's just say it's a question, will moving into state open me up to new, more aligned opportunities rather than staying here? Right? A yes, no question. That's what we're going for. And so you would write yes or no underneath, leave that to the side, and then a few hours later you come back and circle the answer. Whichever one comes first, that's the answer you circle. Because you've allowed your subconscious to see that here's a decision, here's a question. You bypass the rational mind by going off to do something else, but it's still percolating in your subconscious mind. And by the time you come back to it, snap judgment, intuitive judgment. You circle the answer, and it may not be what you expect, and it may not even be what you like, though it's most likely a very honest answer. So give that a go if that interests you. And you've experienced this. Draw on your own personal experiences. Think of times where you felt that there was this hunch that you had and then you acted upon it and it was boom, totally on point. Or another time where you didn't listen to that hunch, that intuitive nudge, and then think about what happened after that. Also useful. Useful to take stock of what we've already experienced to help us continue along our path. Because of course, as we enter the unknown, it's not like we forget all that. No, these are our sacred building blocks. These have assisted us to be able to face the unknown now. So there's wisdom there. Draw upon that. So all these things have been very connected to building this coherence of body, mind, heart, soul, right? And as I mentioned previously, we got to know our shadows to be able to truly cultivate that. And so, yeah, again, more on that in the next video. But coherence is really this beautiful state of alignment, of clarity. And that really assists us in facing the unknown when there is challenge, when there is difficulty. And so the coherence allows us to step forward centered, to step forward with presence, to step forward with our heart connected to the thing, with our gut instinct guiding the way, with our intuition providing those little nudges of insight. And so then our mind's not overburdened, our heart's not suffocating with, or drowning in too many emotions, right? They're all sharing the load. So ways that you can cultivate that are, of course, many too. You know, breath work, meditation, journaling, therapy, hugging trees, listening to the birdsong, doing things that we love, affirmations, your spiritual practice, your self-love practice, and self-love, capital S, self, capital L, love. And in doing so, we come also kind of full circle, and we then again recognize the interconnectedness of everything. And how an imbalance in one area affects all other areas. And overstimulation and overburdening of the mind impedes our connection with our heart, with our gut. And so just as the mycelial networks connect the trees and the other plants under the forest, that's what's happening in this entire system all the time. So if you don't feel like you've connected to that place of inner wisdom and inner knowing, it's a good sign that there's an imbalance somewhere. And maybe that balance is physically manifest. Maybe that imbalance is more an emotional imbalance, a mental imbalance. Too much stress, not enough sleep, haven't processed your emotions, not digesting your reality, right? Being open to illuminating the path from within means you're also open to see the stuff that's not working. Super useful. Necessary. We're talking about the holistic system, right? So it encompasses everything. Many things, many things, many things. The main point, really, from this video is that in order to illuminate the path from within, we must go within. And by going within, we are able to perceive where our focus is, where our attention is going, and therefore where energy is flowing, right? What thought forms are we feeding? What company are we keeping? Are we making decisions from a highly mentalized place and not allowing the wisdom of our heart to shine through? Are we disconnected from a sense of gut, powerful knowing instinct? Do we have a vision for our life? Incredible. So we must go within. And when we go within, we go through. And we get to learn of what's working, what's not. What is our heart actually yearning for, longing for? And then letting that light shine. Letting the heart fire, soul fire, gut fire be that light that illuminates the lantern. Before realizing that our whole body is just glowing. We didn't even need a lantern. So, your aligned action. Do this. Really do this one. It's quite simple. All you have to do is write a letter to yourself from your heart. And when I say from your heart, I mean imagine your heart is writing you a letter. Open the gates, let the wisdom flow through, let the truth flow through. Because remember, the heart, which is connected to love, is akin to truth. Because true love acknowledges reality as it is. And that's what truth is. That's what light is. That's what clarity is. So open those gates, let the wisdom flow through, let the truth flow through you, as you, and write at least 2 A4 lined pages. Ideally 3. 1 is too short. 2 minimum. A4. Ideally 3. So, woo, what a gift. I truly hope you gift yourself that. You'll love it. I know I did. That's it. That's it for this video. The feeling of this video for me was very dreamy somehow, but also really practical. Like the convergence of heaven and earth energy. And then I see that as that meeting place as the heart. Yeah. Thank you for being here, for spending this time with me on whatever day this is, whatever time this is for you, wherever you are, whenever you are. Good for you. Good for you for investing this time in yourself. Bless you, truly. I truly hope these videos, if you've been following along with the Discouraged to Willing series, have been useful for you in your life and for your path. That's why they're here. So, whoa! A reminder that next video is number 8, so it will be the final video of the second segment of Discouraged to Willing, and we'll be going a little bit more into that courage of self-inquiry, and therefore the courage to face the less beautiful things of our psyche. Not explicitly shadow work, but we'll touch on that because that's super useful. You can't do this without the shadow work. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, more goodness to come on this channel, of course. So hit that like button for me. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell if you want notifications of when new content comes out. Share this with your people. And yeah, let's keep the good stuff coming. Bless you and your beautiful heart. See you next time.